Bambiz presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Jim Blake. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Elder Law Growth Podcast presented by Bambiz, the team that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys grow their firms, fill their workshops, and connect with their communities using marketing that actually works. Learn more at bambiz.net. Today, I'm talking with someone I've known for nearly a decade, Tom Krause from Krause Financial. I'm excited to have him on the podcast. The things I'm excited to talk with Tom about today include how to build a reliable pipeline for crisis planning, how to talk about Medicaid in a way that clients actually get, and what changes might be coming in 2026 that firms need to be thinking about now. Tom, it's great to have you on. Before we jump in to some questions, can you give our listeners a quick sense of your journey? How did you start working so closely with elder law attorneys, and what's been your focus lately at Krause?
Yeah, well, thank you, Jim. Happy to be on. Excited to have this opportunity to talk to our audience, which again is near and dear to my heart, the elder law space. Yeah, so my background, I kind of grew up in the business. My dad actually, he started as an estate planning attorney back in the late 80s, so working with clients. He transitioned his estate planning practice after he discovered, the use of a Medicaid compliant annuity or an annuity to be part of that spend down process. So he transitioned his estate planning practice over to the financial services world. So I had always been around it. Actually, our office was in our basement for a number of years. So I literally grew up amongst, this type of planning. I ended up going to law school, and after going to law school, graduated in 2015, I transitioned back to the family practice. So I've been working in this business since 2015. So like you said, that's a little over 10 years. It's been an industry that's, been really fun to see evolve and grow and change as I've been on board.
Awesome. What has been some of the things that you've been focusing on lately too?
Yeah, I think with, the big, beautiful bill, we got an opportunity there where we weren't targeted, or the planning opportunity wasn't targeted. So that's been something we kept our eyes on. We actually hired a lobbyist group to kind of keep tabs on what was going on, to make sure that, we'd have a voice in that conversation. So we're really happy with how that turned out, because I think it gives us a clear pathway to continue this planning into the future. And, the numbers, this planning is going to be very needed as the baby boomers kind of age into needing this care. The first baby boomers actually turning 80 in 2026, and our average age of our client is around 81 years of age. And you're going to have a steady stream of opportunities. So we're really excited this planning opportunity is staying open for this audience, because the need is just going to become overwhelming in the coming years.
Yeah. When you said that about the baby boomers aging into the 80s, that's wild. But I guess I'm a millennial and I'm aging as well. So there's that. There's that. So I know a lot of our listeners, some of the things they're thinking about is like, how do I grow my practice? What can I do? So one of the things I wanted to jump in and talk about and get your opinion on is just building a sustainable, crisis planning pipeline. I know a lot of the clients that Bambiz works with, they do workshops, and their goal is to try to attract these crisis planning clients. So I'd love to hear your point of view, what you're seeing, what's working for elder law firms right now when it comes to generating, Medicaid planning clients.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to kind of plant your flag is that you're the resource or the expert in your area, so people know that you offer this service. Because there's a lot of attorneys that might do a little of this, a little of that, different areas of practice, but really specializing in the elder law space will give you an advantage, because really the elder law attorney is most equipped or best equipped to handle these types of situations, particularly in the spend down scenario where we have to spend down assets in order to accelerate eligibility for the program. So first and foremost, I think, having that clear messaging on your website and on your materials that this is an area that you have, expertise in. Also aligning with NALA is a good opportunity, because it really puts you a part of that network, and people understand that this is an area of focus for your practice. So that's something I always recommend, getting focused, because today, people are looking for specialists in this space, because the planning it is technical. You really have to be in it day to day to really be proficient at it.
Now, like if an attorney becomes, a member of like the national organization, NALA, and obviously the states also have their unique chapters.
Yes.
What are some things that they can get out of that organization that you've seen that helps them actually like get clients?
Yeah, there's a lot of, obviously you have the resource of the listservs. So if you have a client scenario that you're not familiar with, you can, go to your colleagues, you get that support there. They have a lot of training seminars to kind of keep up to date with the latest and greatest in the space. They do have resources to actually generate client leads, I think, through some of their directory sites and whatnot. So it's just a good place to start as a foundation. But once you have the foundation, definitely you want to get your digital marketing efforts up, because a lot of people now are entering that space. They're seeing ads, they're being presented ads. You want to be at the forefront of that. So if you're not running ads the traditional way, I think you're missing out on some big opportunity, because there are people in the community looking for these services, but they have to be able to find you. I know one of the local practitioners in our area, they have billboards kind of up and down the highway, and the billboards are clear as to what they do, who they service, and what situations they can help. So again, it's about messaging. It's about getting out there to let people know, that they can take advantage of your services and what those services are.
Right. That's one of the things we always say too, is like people don't know,
Yeah.
you have to kind of like educate them a little bit on
Yes.
it, which is the point. So
Yeah.
what
That's
is
something in the space, education is key, being able to educate the community, because a lot of people, we find that the most is most people don't know that these planning opportunities are actually available, because there's a lot of bad information out in the space about, they've heard this from their financial planner, or they heard this from their neighbor, that because somebody has an asset or they have the, amount of money, Medicaid's for the poor, just a lot of misconceptions out there in the space. So being able to, like you said, put on workshops, maybe a digital webinar to get people to come to, maybe put on a lunch and learn to let people know and work through some of these misconceptions, particularly as it deals, with the Medicaid program, which, again, the misconceptions are numerous.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad information out there too. Your uncle, son-in-law told you this thing, and now,
Yes.
that's like the law of the land, which is obviously incorrect. So what would you say the top like 2 to 3 things where you see elder law attorneys get stuck, or maybe there are estate planning attorneys that want to get into elder law and they're getting stuck? But what are the top things you see?
Yeah, I think a lot of them just, it is complex. It's an area of the law because it changes. There's always nuance changes. So you really have to, like you said, focus a good deal of your energy on it to really be proficient. We see a lot of attorneys, especially estate planning attorneys, who want to kind of dabble in it. They end up referring a lot of the cases over to elder law specialists because, again, they don't want to spend the time to truly learn, the nuance of the planning and stay, abreast of any recent developments or changes. So that's something that we see as a challenge. So it's just the education, making sure that they get that initial education and then they stay up to date. Some other areas where, the attorneys are kind of challenged is, again, if they're trying to take on all different types of cases, it's just the bandwidth here and not having their practice set up in the right way. Because if you set your practice up for elder law and you do it correctly, it's actually a very efficient process, because you have your paralegals handle a lot of the back end work, where you can spend your time meeting with the client, selling the opportunity, perfecting the estate plan. Your paralegals can do a lot of the, putting the case together, whether it's, putting together the Medicaid app, lassoing the assets, determining what's countable, what's non-countable, putting together the Medicaid app. So it can be very efficient, but if you're not set up that way, because maybe this isn't an area of true focus, you're going to struggle, because you're going to have to do all those things unless you partner with others. So that's where we see attorneys struggle. It's just a big lift initially to kind of get your practice set up in order to really take these cases down in an efficient manner.
No, systems are super important for everything. So yeah, for sure. One of the things we hear a lot is attorneys asking like, I know I'm not very good at explaining this, or I'm uncomfortable. Maybe the best way to say it, I'm uncomfortable explaining it, right? And so because of their being uncomfortable talking about it, they don't do it. So I guess the question for you would be like, do you think talking about crisis planning, Medicaid is a tough topic to explain to families? And if so, why is that?
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of attorneys, I think that's where they also do struggle, is being able to actually sell the service once they have the client in the office. What we've seen is the attorneys that do struggle are overcomplicating it. Maybe they're getting into the minutia of the who, what, where, when, why, versus really focusing in and honing in on maybe the economic outcomes. When can my client get on Medicaid? How long is that process? And the one that we really like and makes it an easy sale, or not even a sale in most cases, is, if I have to continue paying this nursing home bill, how quickly will that deplete my assets? That usually is, the reason that there's urgency for the client or, the representatives to make a decision more quickly, where it's not a hard sale. But again, you have to make it easy for them to understand. Don't get into the minutia of everything that's going to be done. Just really focus on the outcomes of the planning. And, a lot of attorneys I've seen, the presentations, they want to really simplify it. I know the LWP or some of the organizations use the wagon, what fits into the wagon or what fits into the safe. So being able to illustrate it in a way or communicate it in a way that is simple, the client can understand it, and they can get to that point of decision without, having to second guess everything or get caught up in too many details.
For sure. I mean, if you have any ideas, what would be something that you say, hey, this is a great way to simplify your messaging? What are some ways that you would recommend simplify their messaging during workshops, during, consultations with clients?
Yeah. Well, what we do when we work with attorneys is we'll put together kind of a comprehensive planning letter. So depending on the circumstances, we'll input all that data. We'll kind of lay out the plan in a very detailed manner. But we always have a cover page that kind of outlines the plan outcomes and really just on a high level shows them, if you conduct this planning or you proceed with this planning, here's what you can expect. So just having something that's that simple that you can walk a client through, in a short meeting, that they can feel comfortable with the outcome. I mean, the planning letter itself has all the detailed steps, but that one page outline of the plan really is a good way to highlight the pros of proceeding. So that's something that we always recommend utilizing, the attorney utilizing with their client. In terms of the presentation, again, you just want to keep it simple, keep it high level. They don't need to know every detail of what you're doing. It's kind of like you go to the dentist. I'm not going to ask them, how are you filling my tooth? But, my tooth hurts. I'm going to come out, my tooth is going to be not hurting. So, that's kind of the same concept. You want to keep it as high level as you can, but really communicate the benefit of proceeding with the plan.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we communicate, obviously, with the marketing side of it, and when these clients of ours, estate planning side, elder law side, are doing workshops, is like just using clear, relatable language to the audience, right? We don't want to overwhelm them with jargon that they may not be comfortable with, and if somebody's confused, then they're not going to make the next decision, right? Or the next decision that they are going to make is the one not with you, So we don't want to overwhelm them, especially when they are going through, something that is very important like this. So, that's what I would like to say. Just keep it clear, keep it relatable. That'll help you build trust, and then hopefully they'll take the next step with you because they feel like you actually understand. What that
Another thing that we offer at Krause, we have our attorney access platform. So we have tools that the attorneys can use in office in terms of, calculating plan design right from, their desktop, and they can actually communicate this while they're in a meeting with a client. So they can take in those case facts, they can put together the calculation, and it'll spit out kind of a very close estimate to how the plan will actually kind of, the outcome will be. So that's a beneficial tool that we also recommend that attorneys utilize, while they're in the meeting with the client. Actually pull these tools up. We have a rough idea usually what the assets are, what the cost of the nursing home is, what the income is, and we could put together a plan kind of on the fly. So that's another tool that we recommend as a way to sell this solution to your clients.
And that's something they can see right there, I assume. Like you could just do like on an iPad or a computer, and they can see it right there. That's great. That's perfect. So I know that we talked a little bit about, some things that people are on the lookout for. I mean, you mentioned like the big, beautiful bill, right? That's one of the things. But, like other, maybe it is that, but from a national policy or like a long-term care perspective, what are you watching closely as we finish up this year and head into 2026?
Yeah, we know, since the Big Beautiful Bill passing, I think a lot of the state budgets are now going to be kind of put to the test to some degree in terms of what they're able to fund, because there will be some potential funding shortages. So, we've seen the Medicaid program tighten down a bit. I know some of the processing times have taken longer in some states. We've seen some states start to challenge things that they weren't challenging previously. So that might be, them looking to maybe tap into the new administration or the current administration to see if they can get waivers to kind of differentiate from the federal rules to some degree. So they have become more aggressive in some ways in tightening who they're allowing, to get eligibility. So that's something that, you really need to partner with somebody who is equipped to handle those challenges. Here at our office at Krause, we have an in-house legal team where we'll support those cases. If there's a denial, we have an attorney on staff who will, help you walk through that scenario. Because again, there's challenges all across the country. We've seen pretty much every challenge multiple times in different forms. So there's a way to kind of overcome them, you're usually leaning into the handbook. But again, I think states now, because of those budget shortfalls that they're likely going to experience, and maybe, less workers in those offices, things have seemed to slow down and there's more challenges on the way. But we'll see how that kind of settles out into the coming year, because this is new territory for us.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would recommend, for how can firms prepare for that? What can they do, to prepare for these little challenges that might pop up?
Yeah, I think, having open communication with the client, because again, if there are delays in processing the Medicaid app, a lot of families might get nervous because they're in this kind of wait and see period where, they're waiting for eligibility to be determined. So that's something you really want to communicate on the front end that, my state office, if you experience that, is, backlogged. It could be 90 days, it could be longer. So giving those upfront expectations. Also, again, partnering with a firm that if there is a challenge, because again, if you're 90 days in and then you have to face a challenge, you really want to have that support to overcome the challenge. So that's another thing. You really want to partner with somebody who can help you through that process as efficiently as possible. So that's something we recommend as well, to really be on the lookout for.
Yeah. Lean on your connections, stay informed, be able to adjust and pivot as necessary. Definitely some things to consider as we get into 2026. So, well, as we kind of wrap up the podcast, I'd love, if an attorney is listening to this and they want to grow this side of their practice, maybe they're feeling a little bit stuck, what's one step, if you could just say, out of everything that we're talking about, or maybe it's something we haven't talked about yet, what's one step that they can take Q1 2026 to really start building momentum for the new year?
Yeah, I think first, just recognizing the opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, we're on the cusp of that first baby boomer turning 80 in 2026. There's approximately a 20-year runway of these individuals who are going to need this care. So first, identifying that this is an opportunity. Again, if you set your practice up the right way, it can be a very lucrative opportunity to add crisis planning to your practice or make that a primary focus. So once you get over the hurdle of understanding what the opportunity is, we always recommend starting from a education standpoint to kind of set that foundation for the practice. There's a lot of great education out in the space. Like I mentioned earlier, NAILA puts on a lot of great programs, attending the national event, becoming a NAILA member. Those are always foundational pieces that we recommend. Our website, KrauseFinancial.com, we have our attorney access platform, which I referenced. We have a lot of education to kind of give you a feel or a sense of what this planning looks like in terms of that crisis spend down scenario, what the client outcomes are. So, again, there's a lot of great resources in the space. So starting there, getting yourself educated, and then, from there, it's really marketing. So then the next step is figuring out you want to be in this practice, you are educated in the space. Now you got to find a marketing partner to really, communicate that out to the community. So those are the first key 3 steps. And from there, once you kind of get those pipelines of clients coming in, it becomes much easier because you will become a referral source in your community. Once you solve this issue for one family, other families will talk about it. So you will continue to see business coming through the door once you, get off the starting block.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. Like, just go ahead and get out there and take action. Right. I feel like just take the first step. And
That's it.
one of the things we always tell a lot of the clients that we work with is like, don't overthink things.
Sure.
You could be like stuck in like analysis paralysis and just never take action. And so, yeah, using the resources that you have and then just getting it going, I think is great.
And we do see a lot of that where people they'll attend the same program or more or less the same program over and over, but it's how do you get from attending the program to actually taking action here? And that, like you said, you have to take that first step. So
Right.
I think getting through that education hump, but then once you're there and you're committed, now how do I market my services? How do I get the word out that this is something that my firm offers? So really, you got to go through all those 3 steps to really get out the starting block.
And I think one of the things that, just like anything in life, but you're never going to be fully prepared for the first one that you do.
Yeah.
Right. And so you just have to understand and accept that. And then, lean on your resources, lean on Krause, lean on other, educational communities out there that are teaching this and ask questions to your colleague, but not be afraid to do that. I think is
we have a lot of first-time clients, so we're always working with first-time clients. We will hold your hand as much as you need. We'll walk you through the process. We'll make this as easy as we can for you to, again, add this to your practice. So that is very important that you want, again, partners who kind of support you to get you off that starting block. And a lot of our business, it's attorneys that are sending their first piece of business, and then they get to their second, and then their third, and then it just the floodgates open up. So that's our objective, is to really work with you to make sure this, is an area of practice that, you feel good about, because you want to go and do something that is efficient. You can make some money, and it's something that's you're not going to pull your hair out in the process.
And I mean, just on a side note, coming from my background with the marketing side of it and watching firms, that are doing elder law and running these type of educational events, elder law is a great area to be practicing.
Oh, yeah.
The firms that are actually, doing this, they're doing it consistently month after month. I mean, not only are they super successful as far as like the financial side of it goes, but it's kind of a feel good area of law, and you're actually helping a lot of families in your community. So, just what we see on our end, it's a great practice area to be a part of.
Yeah, it's an underserviced area as well. There's 4,200 NALA members currently. And like I said, those numbers are going to become exponential in terms of the people that could utilize these services. So, the industry hasn't grown as quickly as the need is going to be growing. So it's a great time to get in. And now with, having some clarity through the big, beautiful bill, where there's not going to be any massive rule changes, at least for the near foreseeable future, I think it's a great time to get in.
Very cool. I know you mentioned a couple of resources, but wanted to go ahead and put them right here at the tail end of the podcast. Where can people connect with you? Where can people learn more about the resources that you're offering at Krause?
Yeah, I think always the best starting point is our website, KrauseFinancial.com. Tons of resources. We really built this platform or the website designed to help you in your practice. How can we help you grow? The attorney access platform that I mentioned, we have a free user opportunity. Also, if you're a client with us, you do a certain number of cases, we're now opening that up to those users to get that free premium access. Tons of information. We have different presentations. We have those calculators there. We have the state resources, which are very important when you're doing the case design. You need to know your state's specific rules. We have all of that at your fingertips. So go to our website at KrauseFinancial.com. Really dive into that attorney access platform, because that's something it's been near and dear to our heart. We think you can win in this space if you have the right technology. We want to make your job easier. So that's definitely the starting place to kind of learn more about us and the opportunities and services that we offer.
Awesome. And we'll put links to those in the show notes on the YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. And Tom, by the way, I heard that there's a really good marketing course inside that platform too. I don't know that.
Yes. One of our preferred partners, Mr. Jim Blake with Bambiz. Again, they are, I think, one of the best resources in the industry in terms of getting that word out, getting those foundational marketing pieces in place, whether it's the digital marketing, making sure your website's in good order, helping with your local marketing, putting on different programs for the community. they're a great resource, and that's why we partnered with you guys, and we look forward to expanding the partnership in 2026.
For sure. I appreciate that, Tom. I had to throw that in there because I'm like, oh, it's a great platform. So, well, that's all we have for today for this episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, brought to you by Bambiz. If you're ready to grow your firm using marketing that actually works, visit bambiz.net. Huge thanks again to Tom today for joining us. If you've gotten value from this episode, follow the show, leave a review. It helps more attorneys like you find us. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep showing up for your community. Thanks again, Tom, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Jim.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. Here you can find all of the tools and skills you need to market your own practice without wasting your time. If you like this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you're listening. And if you're ready to take the pressure off and let our team handle your marketing, visit bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.